MLB. That's what we're discussing in the Grim Report, correct?
Got it. 8, 9, 10. Okay.
So I'll make sure you have that. I'll bring it up and then mention you kind of touched on this yesterday, but go over those numbers again for payroll.
Okay,
and then we can dive into it. The Cardinals aren't the only one who've reduced payroll. The Cubs have too, and other teams. What do you think is going? The Jonkeys.
The Astros did too. They went back on their
substantial amount.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, moving soda. Well, no, not moving soda.
Happy Friday from the Randy Karraker Show featuring Brooke Grimsley. Great to have you with us. And Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Oh, I like that, Randy. Now you need to do like a crown motion.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Or for the people who, I don't know how many sorority people we have in
Lots.
the chat.
This is like the
Zeta
biggest sorority
Alpha.
show in America.
There
Maybe
you
the
go.
world.
Yeah, it's a crown.
Oh, I like
So
that.
I was in
Don't
Zeta
have to.
Tau Alpha and we wore the
Well
crown.
done. Good memory. Good memory.
Nah.
Tyler
He
did.
said Tri Delta Mizzou.
Do you guys think the Blues are going to win the Stanley Cup? Yay.
It's starting to feel that way, Randy.
Yeah, I'm kind of there that way. Matthew Rocky also here.
Wilson
Bernie's
also
with us
here.
at 20 after, by the way.
Yeah, I jumped into the post game yesterday, actually, with Ethan Hannaford, Jacob Stanek, and Brendan Gallegos was joining them as well. And
Former Cardinal right-handed reliever?
no, different one. And I asked them the question that I also am asking the audience and you guys. Here is our third prompt of our TOD topic list today.
Uh-huh.
Tell me why they won't go on a 2019 run. At this point, that's where I'm at now. They win 11 in a row. They go on that same run. Just tell me why they won't win the Stanley Cup this year. That's where I'm at.
I think that's really hard because 11 wins in a row, if you guys were watching last night, was not a great overall game for the Blues. Of course, the end result is what you want to see. Robert Thomas, oh my God, I was worried because the Penguins had it out for the Blues in that game. They were headhunting basically. Dylan Holloway injured, and you hate to see that. Robert Thomas, he kind of went away for a little bit, went back to the locker room, came back out, and then he had that overtime winner for the Blues there in the end. Just insane.
And what a snipe.
Whew, I know. Robert Thomas. He's still a friend of the show, kind of, right?
Yes, he's a friend of us. So I think we could get him on.
Yeah, we could get him on eventually. I know he's on some other show, but he probably wants to come back and chat with us at some point. But to your question, Rockio, why shouldn't they win the Stanley Cup? Why won't they? Because it's fluky. Sometimes that's the only thing. It's the hardest championship to win, I believe, out of any sport whatsoever.
It is.
Do they deserve to win right now? Yeah, everything is falling into place. You have the good story, their kind of version of Gloria this year with Jobu. Still find that hilarious. No idea who started that, because even some of the players have been asked, like, who brought this in? And they're not fessing up to who exactly started this Jobu trend. And you have all the stuff lining into place. The vets, the young players coming together and continuing to find ways to win. Obviously, 11 row. Last time they did that, 2019.
Yeah. Normally, you'd think that it would be Binnington, by the way, but Jobu was put there when they came back for the little mini training camp. So Binnington was still playing in the Four Nations. So unless he had an equipment guy put it up there, maybe it was an equipment guy.
What if it was Monty?
We should not call Jobu it, by the way. Jobu is him.
Him.
It might have been Monty.
I feel like that could be like kind of a funny thing. The fact that none of the players are fessing up to it, unless it's like an inside joke where they just don't want to reveal exactly who it was. What if it was Jim Montgomery who did that?
That'd be pretty funny.
I could see him doing maybe.
Yeah, he's
like
a
that.
fun guy.
By the way, speaking of Jim Montgomery, just to show you the difference that he makes, I don't know if you saw this. So the Blues win 11 in a row last night. The Bruins have lost 10 in a row.
Yeah. Ooh, they tore their team apart. Yeah, that's. I feel bad for them.
No, you don't.
So it's okay. No, I
Don't
don't.
you
You're
love
right.
it?
Yeah. Thank you very much for handing us Jim Montgomery. So CNSQ online. I don't know what CNSQ stands for, so if you can help us with that, we'd appreciate it. The only difference between this Blues and 2019 is the theme song. Well, the other morning on Matrix, we had Army on, and I said, I gave him the question. I said, look, long winning streak, coaching change, veteran defense, team that was down mid-season and then rebounded. Great goaltending. I said, are we going too far here? And he said, yeah, I hate to rain on your parade, but this isn't anything close to 2019.
So what was he said? The big difference?
Yeah, he said the big thing was that was a team that was put together to win a Stanley Cup. This was a team that was basically put together to win the playoffs. But when you bring in Bozak, bring Perron back, bring in O'Reilly, you've got that veteran defense with Bo and Petro and Gunnarsson and the other veterans back there on that blue line. And then obviously up front, you've got Steen, you've got Shen, you've got O'Reilly, you've got Perron, you've got Tarasenko. That was a veteran-laden team. Sonny at that point was, he'd been with Pittsburgh and then been with the Blues. That fourth line was grizzled. As Army mentioned, you bring in the big rig, right? You had a lot of veteran presence on that team that doesn't exist on this team. I think what they think, judging from that answer, that might be holding this Blues team back is experience.
They do have some great experience, though. I mean, Suter has been surprisingly
He's
really good.
In the league.
Yeah, he's also. Did you see him all up in like Crosby's kitchen too? I just love to see that too. Last night, your veterans are stepping up, but it feels like this team definitely is, to your point, is more 50-50 when it comes to the young guys and veterans. But you love that these young guys are able to step up. I can understand kind of the concern of would they be able to handle the playoffs in this situation?
Thing, Brooke, though, think about it from this perspective. Robert Thomas has been there. Right?
Yes, even though he was injured towards the end there of the Stanley Cup run.
But he essentially set up the seventh goal in the seventh, or the winning goal in the seventh game, right?
Yeah.
For Maroon. So Bobby Tommy has been there. Schenner has been there. Holloway and Broberg both played in the Stanley Cup Finals last year.
Broberg was a big part of that.
Falk has been deep into the playoffs. Suter has been deep into the playoffs. Fowler has played. Did the Ducks play? I think they did play in a Stanley Cup final. At the very least, they played in a conference championship in Fowler's career there. Maybe they didn't play in a Stanley Cup final. My point being that there are a lot of players here that do have that deep run in the playoffs experience.
So when you talk to Doug Armstrong, and I haven't been able to see that interview yet, but when you talk to Doug Armstrong, at what point did he realize that he needed to keep this group together? Were you able to discuss that with him?
Yes, and it wasn't that he felt like it, but they did get hot. And he said when they came out of, he said they would have been sellers if they would have come out of the Four Nations and not been hot.
Wow. So that's how close he was to decide.
And he said we were not going to be buyers. It was what we always said. They were either going to sell or they were going to stand pat. They were never going to be buyers. I don't know how much there was to sell, though, because it's my impression that Shen wasn't going to go anywhere. So maybe if things really fall apart, you do move a Suter or something like that. But obviously, it didn't happen. And Armstrong, again, has built a really good unit. And we saw that last night. They did not play well in the first period. Everybody admitted it, right? But they're resilient. And as Jim Montgomery said after the game, they're able to win games where they don't play their best. And that's a sign of a really good hockey team. There were so many good things that happened in that game after the first period. By the way, I want to make this point because all of us, you have been listening to us for a long time. And we've spent a lot of time in various iterations of this show putting the word trade, Jordan Kyrou, those three words in the same sentence, right? Jordan Kyrou a stud.
Yeah.
Jordan Kyrou has shown his competitiveness. He's shown his hustle. He's playing a great 200-foot game. He's a guy that's very capable of scoring 40 goals. But the coolest thing now for me is how he is making really competitive hockey plays. He's really involved in a lot of little things that help you win games.
I think that's a big part that's developed in his game is that he's able to get in a little bit more of that. This team has a lot more edge to them. The
Mhm.
younger guys do. Something
Yeah.
that we've been waiting to see from some of those younger guys. We've talked about Jake Neighbors. Why he's become a fan favorite is because he's not afraid to get up there in the net. He's not afraid of those dirty goals, the greasy goals, as we like
Yeah.
to talk about them too. That's what we liked about Jake Neighbors is he had no issue being physical. And now you're starting to see some of those other players that you
Bolduc.
really wasn't expecting. Yeah, they're
Bolduc's-
starting to do that.
He's kind of. I wish they would change his number. But he's becoming one of my favorite guys.
Yes.
team.
So we have a question in from. Let's
Let's
where
get to
did it go?
Ellipsis 150, by the way.
Yeah.
It says, even when the Blues aren't playing their best hockey, they find a way to win. That differentiates a good team from a great team. I thought that was, especially the 2019-2020 season when they got stopped by the pandemic. That team was just good at winning. It's it's a hard thing to identify, but I think this is a team too, Brooke, that is just good at winning.
Yeah, it feels like it. They're finding ways to win.
Yeah.
Like last night, and Jim Montgomery, he wasn't happy with the way that they played.
No.
He wasn't cheery, even though it was exciting that they won 11 wins in a row. I'm sure if you guys have seen that sound on social media, Jim Montgomery kind of was like, look, we have to get better. We're not like a secret anymore to the league. We can't have games like that last night. And I think that just really shows the attitude of this group right now, that they're not satisfied whatsoever.
And there's two great things about last night. Number one, the fact that they had to go overtime is a great coaching point. But the biggest one is might be from the time that we've heard Montgomery, seems to me that the most important thing for him is closing games out. And that's what he said last night.
Yeah.
He said, I'm not happy with giving up the 2-goal lead in the third period. We have to get better at closing games out. By the way, that's what great teams do at playoff time, but way too many, and how many have there been? I don't know, but way too many empty net goals, 6 attacker goals that the other team is scoring against the Blues in the final minute or the final seconds.
Yeah. And Dylan Holloway, I know some people are asking about that. I don't know if there is a complete update that he's just kind of considered day to day at this
But
point.
then again, aren't we all?
We all are day to day at this point.
Did we just get called Neards? Jay
Who called
Renegade,
us
thank you very
Neards?
much. Yeah, good morning, Neards. That's fine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, we discovered that it's not Renegade the other day. It's
What is it?
Rhinegade.
Renegade?
It's Rhinegade.
Okay.
He actually
Jay
gave us
Renegade.
like kind of a
Okay.
phonetics
Oh, thank you.
spelling. And
Appreciate
so it's
that.
Rhinegade. We discovered that.
Okay.
And High Definition says
Yes.
Monty is getting the best of his players. Yes,
This
he's
is-
getting the best
Yeah,
out of his guys.
and this is the kind of coach Jim Montgomery is. And there are coaches that get great work and great trajectory out of young players. And there are coaches that get great work out of veterans. Craig Berube is a guy that does both, but clearly he's a veterans coach. He'd love to have a veteran team, and they've got a big winning streak going too, the former Blues coach. But Jim Montgomery is one of those rare coaches that helps young players ascend and at the same time gets veteran players to play their best.
Yeah, and that's what you're seeing with this group right now is that a lot of these guys have elevated their game. Chad Harrington says a year ago, Kyrou would have scored 2 goals, then give up turnovers that caused 3 points for the other team. This year, he is not the same. Wasn't a Kyrou fan, but now I'm becoming a huge fan. I think that's a very fair point. When we were talking about Jordan Kyrou being associated with trades, to be fair, it seemed like it was something the Blues were even pursuing at certain points because they felt like they weren't getting enough out of Jordan Kyrou. Yes, he's always has that potential and he shows that he can be a 30-plus goal scorer, but the way that he's performing to what you were saying this year, what we're seeing right now, his overall game and the way that he's getting involved in that, I think that's the thing that has changed the narrative around Jordan Kyrou.
He leads the Blues at plus 23.
That's insane.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And now you want that guy around. So I think that he has changed the narrative a lot with people, including the Blues, wanting to move on from him.
Yeah. And now, because the salary cap is going to go up so dramatically, I think it's 104 million next year, 114, and it's going to go up like 10 million a year for each of the next 3 years. All of a sudden, Thomas, Kyrou,
Looks great.
Buchnevich, those contracts are such bargains. The Colton Parayko contract, they are such great bargains for the next few years, which you will need because you're going to have to sign Dylan Holloway and Broberg to big extensions. You'll probably have to give big money to Hofer at some point. And who am I leaving out here? There's another young player. Well, Neighbors is only in a bridge deal too. So you're going to have to give Neighbors a big contract too. So there's money to be spent. And man, they have these guys, I think there's 6 more years left on those 2 deals. Kyrou and Thomas. Pretty good move there by
How do you think
Army.
that Alexander Steen feels about this? That he's getting it set up perfectly to start his GM career.
That was another question that we had of Army the other day. And you can find it, by the way. Just go to matrixmidwest.com. You can find it. But he said, Army said, I'm really excited about the future of this team. He's leaving, in my opinion, a great young team. Not just a good young team, a great young team. I don't know what Steiner has to do when he takes over.
But that's the thing, is that he actually gets to enjoy the fruits of the labor. And we should give credit to Alexander Steen, because he has had his hand, especially in recent years, of bringing up, that he likes the Swedish players. So we know that he has his hand in a lot of that. And I'm sure that he was involved in every step of the way with a lot of these moves with the offer sheets.
I'm going to fix the arm of this chair.
Yes.
I hate Swedish Fish, by the way. It's the grossest candy ever.
Why do you hate Swedish Fish?
hate
I think
them.
that they're delicious.
Oh,
What are you talking
No,
about?
it's not even like candy to me. It's really, I don't like it at all.
What do you not like about
tried
it?
I think the taste is horrible. And
The
Matthew agrees
taste?
with me.
Well, I don't know
Hate's
if
a
you
big
want.
word
I don't
right
know
there.
if you want Rocky on your
It's
side
a
about
good
food
point.
taste. This guy doesn't like hot fruit, remember? So he doesn't like
Okay,
pies.
I think
He
we've
doesn't heat up his
been
Pop-Tarts.
proven now that my food takes, compared to the general public that is in our chat and it used to text into the show, I am at like a 4 in weird food takes compared to these people out
There
here.
was
And by the
another
way,
one
I
that he
re-
didn't. There
I
was another
really-
weird one that
yeah.
Rocky didn't like.
It's not that weird to not like pie.
Yes, it is.
Just because you're from the South and it's,
Pies are
I like
everywhere.
hobos are routinely just like floating on
Hobos?
the scent clouds towards windows.
Yeah. By the way,
It's a
I will
cartoon
point
joke,
out
Brooke.
that,
Stick with me.
95% of the Swedish hockey players I really like. Like I was even a fan of Patrick Berglund. And I know you probably weren't, but I like the Swedish hockey player.
You just don't like Swedish Fish. That's where you
No.
draw the line.
Yeah. And this is the candy. Is there like a, I don't know if there's a fish.
Thank you for the clarification.
Well, I don't know if there's like, is there a fish that comes from Sweden?
Oh
Like,
God.
Yes,
a
we
fish
could,
that you'd
I
order
guess
at Bristol.
somebody could
Fish
take this as you hating
Okay.
herring.
Yeah, right. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I like herring.
I'm glad
Pickled
that you
herring,
knew that.
Delicious.
You'll mess with some pickled herring.
Yeah,
I tell you what, man,
I'm bored.
they love like a roux up there. You know what roux is? Fish eggs.
Oh, roe?
Roe. Sorry, not
Roe,
roe.
yeah.
Thank you. They love roe up there.
Trout? Do you like
They
trout?
put like
Yeah, I think he's
dill
great.
and celery, kind of like seasoning on like everything.
Okay.
They
oh my gosh, I can't with you
is
right now.
trout from Sweden?
No,
Okay.
clearly not.
So anyway, Austin Shiflett, thank you so much. Randy canceled for hating Swedish Fish. LOL.
Agreed. Agreed. Black
So anyway,
licorice.
back to the Blues.
Chad Harrington's going to drive me off a cliff.
Come on, Chad. You're fine. You're good. Chad, keep it up. We love having you with us as part of the show. But I think that the Blues have a goaltending duo that is the equal
Mhm.
of 2019. I still don't think, as much as I like this defense, they don't have a Pietrangelo on this team. A guy that, this is my opinion, when the game is kind of spinning out of control, you just get the puck to that guy and he kind of manages the game for you.
Now you are getting Cole Parayko back.
Yeah, right.
Which
And that-
he's not Alex Pietrangelo, but still getting Cole Parayko back is a huge aspect.
And
for the
he's a big part of it. And Cam Fowler is pretty close, by the way.
Yeah.
Cam Fowler's really good. And then the other part of it is this team, while physically heavy, and they're playing heavy now, it's way faster
It
than
is way
the
faster.
19 team.
And that's what you kind of needed to develop with
Yeah.
this group. That's more of the trends with what we're seeing currently in the NHL anyways, is faster teams are what's going to get you there to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I like this group a lot. I hope that they will be able to win a Stanley Cup. I want that celebration here in St. Louis again, because it just feels like everything is lining up perfectly for them. And I like this young core group
Me
that
too.
they have. I hope that everything will be okay with Dylan Holloway. We'll have to see how that progresses. But we also should mention Jimmy Snuggerud with his first NHL point last night.
great.
So it's been great that he's been getting some playing.
Another
time.
guy. And how did that play start? In the defensive end.
Yeah.
You know, that's really cool to see a young player like that be as responsible defensively as he's proven to be so far in the early going of his career. And by the way, the Blues play Colorado. Cale Makar scored his 30th goal last night. Defenseman, he may or may not get to 100 points this year. He's unbelievable. And they're so loaded with talent. The fact that the Blues went in there and snapped their 11-game home winning streak last weekend
Mhm.
was impressive. But now they're going to be angry. I want to see how the Blues perform at home against an angry Colorado team that, by the way, wants to prove a point that if they see the Blues in the playoffs, they want to say, hey, we're better than you. So you're going to get Colorado's best shot tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with that. And by the way, and this was last night, I didn't check with this morning, but the magic number to clinch the playoffs is now at 8 points. So technically a 4-1-0 record would guarantee St. Louis a spot.
If we sing the number of the day, are we going to get it kicked
Taken
off
away?
YouTube? The number of the day, it's really, really great. The number of the day is 8. I don't know if that's the way it worked in it, but
Well, no, we're saying because what I just said, the
magic
number.
Magic number.
Magic number to
Yeah.
clinch. We don't care about the other numbers. It's the magic
well,
number.
the winning streak is fun.
Oh, no,
but
it
it's gonna
is.
go
But
away.
we care about the magic number too. That's what we're talking about. The magic number is really special. So we mentioned some Cardinals before we get to Bernie here soon. So I'm sure a lot of people saw the update today. And the lineup is out, by the way, for the Cardinals. But Nolan Gorman injured. I hate to see that.
Hammy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10-day IL.
We won't see him for a while. Yeah, we won't.
You don't think we'll see him for a while?
No, his number one, hamstrings take a while, and number two, it's Nolan Gorman.
What do you mean? Why are we changing our tune on Nolan
Oh,
Gorman?
I
over
love
here?
the guy, but I wish he would stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
Don't you wish he would stay healthy? How does he pull a hamstring?
I don't know. Is he too
Didn't
muscular?
We
Is that what you're saying?
he needs to eat some hot dogs. Well, that's part
He
of
needs
it.
to eat the popcorn again.
Yeah. What
Remember,
it?
that was the big issue with him is the
so-
popcorn.
Yeah. Matthew and Joe Roderick did a pregame Cards Hub 365, and it happened in Tuesday's game. Was it in extra innings that he pulled that hammy? I think that was-
Yeah, it was John Denton tweeted out exactly what the play was. Here's the play from. So it was when it was tied 6-6. Gorman was running from first to second against the Angels. So that would have been in the 10th. So that would have been 2 days. Yeah, it would have been 2 games ago.
Okay. So that's kind of disappointing because you guys know how much I like him and hope that he turns into a good player. If you hit home runs, you don't have to run hard.
Oh, Joe says regarding Gorman, the Major League Baseball Players Association should push back against the fake injury IL roster fudgery that goes on. I doubt Gorman is actually hurt. These fake IL stints likely hurt the player in arbitration.
Why would the Cardinals do that? That makes no sense to me. They've got Saggese up.
Why would they want him to do that?
He's right. He's not even playing. They've got him on the bench. Why would they care whether he's? I don't
On the fake
understand
IL.
why that would be. Well, I don't know the advantage of placing him on a fake IL right now.
No, I don't either.
He's not struggling.
Or why he would
Right.
want to.
Right.
Especially when he's trying to prove that he wants more playing time.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think there are times where the fake IL has been used, but I just don't think that the Cardinals are using it with Nolan Gorman. Oh, yeah. And you can tell if you follow John Denton on Twitter, just go to his tweet from an hour ago, and you can see on a ground ball by Herrera how he pulls up between second and third.
You're right. You can't pull fat. So maybe
Oh, no, that's
the
not him,
advice.
though. That's hold on. I'm looking. You can't. That was Arenado running, though. Oh, there it is. Okay, no. As just
You're
as
seeing it
Gorman
now.
was at first, just as he crossed second, you can see him.
You can see him.
Yeah.
You can see
Okay.
that it's kind of bothering him a little bit.
So that's disappointing. And then, Brooke, as you mentioned, the lineup is out today. Newt, of course, the leadoff hitter. Contreras is hitting second. This is the home opener for the Red Sox, by the way. Donovan hitting third at second base. Arenado hitting fourth. Burleson is your number 5 hitter. Herrera behind the plate. Then you've got Walker in right. That'll be fun at Fenway Park. Victor Scott the second in center. And Mason Wynn is your shortstop hitting ninth today at Fenway Park, as the Cardinals will be opposed by Walker Buehler.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. Games at Fenway are always fun. Let us now look at the screen and see who pops up for us. It's always fun. It's always interesting.
We haven't been
and
teasing it, so it's going to be a complete surprise.
complete surprise here. Ready for the surprise? And here we go.
Oh,
There's Bernie
there he is.
Miklasz. Bernard, how are you?
My two pals, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
Great.
Is this Vince Coleman or Chris Carpenter cap?
Satchel Paige.
Oh, Satchel. I love it. Beautiful.
Oh.
I love it.
Got one of my favorite old time players. Read a book about him, saw the great stories. So I like to represent some of the old St. Louis teams. I got to get myself a Spirits of St. Louis hat. But of course, Satchel pitched for the Browns and was actually really good what he did. It was only for a season, I think. But anyway, enough of that. Me and my goofy hats, right?
If people get the opportunity to read about or read books about Satchel Paige, what a fascinating fascinating life, but what a fascinating baseball life he lived.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know that anybody really knows how old he was when he pitched his final major league game. He was old, but I think he was probably about 5 or 6 years older than his official age, you know. So, but he was something else. He could make the baseball do anything.
All right, we'll start with the Blues, and then we'll
Sure.
switch to the Cardinals because, as I mentioned on the show earlier, I asked Doug Armstrong the other day about comparisons between this team and 2019, and he dismissed them out of hand, which is fine.
Yeah.
I only cried myself to sleep that night. But how about you? When you watch this, two teams that had 11-game winning streaks, two teams that were mediocre at best at midseason and turned it on, two teams with great goaltending, two teams that made coaching changes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see comparisons between 2019 and 2025?
Yeah, I do. And I've been listening to you two, of course, and really enjoyed the Blues talk. But, you know, let's start with coaching. The Blues turned things around in 2019 because they fired an ineffective coach and brought in, or they elevated Craig Berube, who was exactly what they needed. The Blues this year were struggling under Bannister, and it's no offense to him, but he was in over his head, I think. And he brings in Jim Montgomery, who, by the way, has got the third best winning percentage in the history of the league among coaches that have worked at least 300 games. So Montgomery has transformed the Blues. You know, their 5-on-5 play, but also their collective competitiveness and discipline and playing a system and just doing everything right, or trying really hard to do everything right. So I think the coaching's the number one connection, and for the simple reason it followed the same pattern. You get rid of the coach, you bring in someone in, and then he transforms what you have. The other thing is they've got Jordan Binnington, and I'm not putting these in any particular order, but Jordan Binnington has won a cup, and he stole a cup. He stole the gold medal or whatever the heck it was in the Four Nations tournament for Canada. The other thing is you guys were talking about it. There's still some remnants of that 2019 team here, you know, most notably Braden Shen, but some others, Robert Thomas, who was 19 years old back in 2019. And just look at how great he has been. And so there are some common threads. Oscar Sundquist, I'm probably leaving some people out. There have been some common threads, but you know, the number one thing, I'm sorry I'm stammered today, I'm all excited. The number one thing that this team has with the 2019 team, it is absolutely dominant at 5-on-5 hockey. And the strength of Berube hockey, you know, from January to the end of the regular season that year, they were 30, 10, and 5, and they were the best 5-on-5 team in the league in terms of the percentage of goals scored against the competition, the goal share at 5-on-5. This team is the same way. I mean, they're 18-2-2 in the last 22 games, and they've scored 65% of the goals at 5-on-5. I mean, that is just a crazy number. But the Berube team in 2019, after January, they had a crazy number as far as dominating play, scoring most of the goals at 5-on-5. The difference, and I think you guys both talked about this. I was listening, as I mentioned. This team's younger than that team, but you know, on one hand, you like to have that grizzled veteran, component. But these younger players have been so terrific. You look at this winning streak that they're on, and guys that are 23 or younger, Neighbors, Holloway, Balduke, Broberg, now Snuggerud, who got on the board with an assist last night. I mean, during this 11-game winning streak, those 23 and under players have 16 goals and 24 assists. I mean, they're carrying a big part of the load. And of course, Kyrou and Thomas have been fantastic. So they're playing at superstar level hockey right now. You know, no one can stop Kyrou. Thomas is just, you're talking about an assist man. So they've got, and they do a great job of preventing goals. It's the system, it's the forechecking, but it's also the goaltending, and the defensemen are very disciplined. You rarely see them out of place. So they got everything going on. It's a long answer, but there's so much to talk about and brag about when it comes to the Blues, right?
Yeah, you're right, Bernie. I mean, it's just really exciting right now because, of course, as we all know, the last time they won 11 in a row was 2019. And so to see this group, the way they come together, there's so many differences, as you mentioned, and there's some similarities, but so many differences. And it's just such an exciting style of play. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit to the Cardinals because now the sample size has grown that we have seen with this group. And I know that some people aren't happy, of course, that you lose the series against the Angels. And you have an article up right now on sportshubstl.com that all of our listeners can go and see currently, where you talk about kind of the entertaining style of play that we've seen from the Cardinals in these first two series. What has stood out to you about that entertaining style of play?
I just love watching this team play, and I hope it's going to be like this most of the season. There's going to be some days, there's going to be 3 or 4 days here and there where they're maybe not flying, but they come out and they're relentless and they have a great attitude and they have fun and they get after it. And you can see there's camaraderie. You can see there's chemistry. You can see what I believe is absolutely happening. And I said it in a video yesterday as well here on Sports Hub STL, which is the young players, the younger players have taken ownership of this team. And that's no disrespect to Arenado or Sonny Gray or Paul Goldschmidt, who's no longer here. But I think, listen, Lars Nootbaar's not a baby bird. I mean, he's 28, but he's still a younger guy in terms of having to really fully prove himself. But you see Nootbaar, in effect, taking over this team as far as like, hey, I got to set the example. I got to be the guy. I got to be the energy source. And everywhere you look, the guys, it's like constant energy, and the other guys are following with them. I think it's a really important thing because the younger players on this team will absolutely determine, is offensively specifically, they will absolutely determine the fate of the 2025 Cardinals, whether it's a really good team, average team, or below average team. That group, and there's a lot of them, that group is going to have more influence on the outcome of this season than any other group on that team. And I think it's really, really crucial that these young guys are coming out, taking ownership of that clubhouse, taking ownership of the style of play, taking ownership of like, this is how we're going to go about it. And, I understand the people that might be disgruntled that they lost the 2 extra inning games to the Angels. But how did they respond to that? First of all, in the two losses in extra innings, that team never once backed off. They never once let down. They just kept going at the Angels over and over again. And then the next day when they won 12-5, they blew a lead. Sonny Gray got lit up. And I heard Randy, I heard you talking about it on the live stream postgame show. It was a great point that I don't think last year's team would have come back and just asserted itself. Like, you're down 5-3. It's like, what just happened there? And then it's like, boom, 9 runs over the next 2 innings. I don't think the 2024 Cardinals would have done something like that. You would have seen everybody in the dugout, including, I hate to say it because I think Paul Goldschmidt's a class act. You would have saw Goldie and Arenado in the dugout and, all stressed out, like grim looks on their face, just like so uptight, so tense. This team's like, okay, we took a punch. Oh boy, that kind of hurt. Okay, let's go get him. Let's go right back at him. I love that attitude. I think, don't you guys agree that it seems like it collectively has a whole new identity and new attitude? Long way to go, but they're sort of making a statement early. This is our team now. This is how we're going to play. It's our turn.
And Bernie, sometimes you just need to have somebody leave to allow the other people to blossom. And you mentioned Goldie, great player, great guy. But Lars Nootbaar said that his goal was to try to get Goldie to do the pepper grinder thing. Yeah. Goldie, very classy and wins in a very classy way. But this is just a different group of guys. The personality of this team is different. And I'm one of those who believes that over the course of 6 months in a clubhouse, we aren't in there, but you need guys that have fun and promote fun. And I think you have those guys. And I think, like you said, it was hard for them to overcome the business-like approach of Goldie and Arenado and Sonny Gray, and to an extent even Lance Lynn. I think players probably intimidated by Lance Lynn and didn't want to do some of the goofy stuff that they're having fun doing now.
Yeah, I think the younger players on the team last year who are still here, I think they felt inhibited. I think they're always looking around like it's like, well, what kind of mood are the two veterans in? They're in a slump, and boy, they look stressed out. So we better keep it down in here. We better not act up. We better, it's a library, right? It's like taking a driver's exam, right? You're in the dentist's office. You shh, be quiet. Goldie's in a slump. Arenado's in a slump. Just shh, keep it down. I totally believe that. And I have pretty good sources that it was a lot like that last season. Now it's kind of like, look at every single one of them. I mean, look at Mason Wynn. I mean, he got off to a horrendous start. He didn't bail out. He didn't get down. He got fierce, and he got even more determined. And he started to improve the quality of at bats, and then he got out of it Wednesday. He worked his way out of it. There wasn't any quit or a loss of morale in that guy. They have a lot of players like that, and I really, so far, I find that very endearing.
Bernie, I watched your interview with Ollie Marmol the other day on the Gas House Gang on KMOX. It was a great interview. And one of the things that stood out to me that we're seeing with Herrera, obviously Herrera's bat is incredible. That's not the issue that people talk about when we're talking about Ivan Herrera. It's more of his work behind the plate and his arm. And I know that Ollie Marmol mentioned to you that they're working on him maybe throwing from his knees, and he thinks that will lead to better results. What do you think about Herrera's future and how he can kind of grow behind the plate?
I love the guy. I mean, what a talent. And he's got a great heart. He wants to be great. He wants to be a really good defensive catcher. He doesn't want to be known as just a hitter. But I can't lie. I mean, I do have concerns. I mean, will he ever be able to improve that arm strength and, his techniques, so to speak, to get rid of the ball sooner and to just have a better chance of throwing people out? And as you two know, the Cardinals also have some young catchers on the way. Jimmy Crooks, Leonardo Bernal. They have like 4 or 5 really good catchers in the minor league system. So I asked Ali the other day, and I said, listen, who doesn't love Ivan Herrera? But if these throwing problems persist, can the Cardinals view him as a catcher for the long term? And he said, it was a good answer because it's true. He said, well, we're working with him, and we're working hard, and he's working hard, and we got to give this some time. But if you asked me today to put $2 down at the betting window about, I would think Ivan Herrera is probably a likely candidate to change positions at some point. I don't know when, but at some point. What do you think?
I think he'd be a fit in left field. I think he's athletic enough. His arm is as good as Manny Ramirez's arm was in left field. And Bernie, I thought he was more of a doubles guy. That was legit power. All 3 of those home runs. There was not a wall scraper there. All 3 of those were legit, and that's the kind of bat that plays on the corners. It does, and he's also a guy for a big man and a catcher. He also runs really well for someone of his size and someone that has the catching background. The Cardinals not too long ago had our friend, Matt Holliday in left field. He's a big, strong guy. He'd be the first to tell you he wasn't the most graceful left fielder, but he got the job done. But he wasn't necessarily real athletic as an outfielder. I look at Herrera, and I think, once they polish him up and he gets some experience playing left field, I think he's got the athleticism and not to mention the strength, but he's got the athleticism to field that position well. Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, I want to ask about Mike Shildt. There are some managers, and we've been so fortunate here in St. Louis. We had a run, Whitey Herzog, Hall of Fame, Joe Torre, Hall of Fame, Tony La Russa, Hall of Fame. We had a run of Hall of Fame managers. And one of their common denominators among those guys is that they got the best out of their players. Players generally played their best in St. Louis when they would go somewhere else. And this, by the way, includes like Torrey with a guy like Todd Zeal. I know that Bernard Gilkey got away and played better, but Brian Jordan played better here than most places. So even under Joe Torre, but clearly with Whitey and clearly with Tony. Mike Schultz seems to be one of those guys. His team is 7-0. They're a half game behind the Dodgers, who are 8-0. But man, it's not the same highly paid Padre team that he took over. And I think Mike Schultz is doing a fantastic job. Have you watched any of them? And what are you thinking of the 7-0 Padres?
I haven't had a chance to watch them, and I love to watch like late night baseball, but I've been getting up really, really early because I want to try to get my content online for Sports Hub STL. And it takes me forever to do stuff now. I think it's old age. I'm not as quick as I used to be. I can still get it done. I know, you know what I mean? I'm a pack mule. I can still lug everything in, right? It's just going to take me a while. I'll produce at a high level, but a little slower. Anyway, no, but I haven't been able to watch West Coast baseball. But listen, he's a terrific manager, and as time goes on, the work he did in St. Louis stands out even more and more and more. Manager of the year, finished third another time, took the Cardinals to the playoffs all three times. His full seasons, all three full seasons. He won a playoff round, which that was the only one since they beat the Dodgers in 2014 in the LDS. So players like him. Players want to play for him. He understands clubhouse. He understands, how you got to run a clubhouse. You're absolutely correct. He's really good at maximizing players' talent, knowing how to use them. It was his idea to put Jackson Merrill in center field. It's like, what is he doing? What are you talking about? First of all, he's a rookie and he's a shortstop. You're going to put a rookie out there that doesn't even have that much minor league. You're going to make him a center fielder. Schultz said, "Oh yeah, he's an athlete. He cares. He works. He'll do a good job out there." I mean, Schultz really strong. He's really, really strong. And now that we know what we know, you also look. I had questions about when he got the Padres job, like because AJ Preller can be really tough on managers, and he kind of meddles, right? Mm-hmm. But Schultz and AJ Preller, their general manager, are like simpatico. I mean, they're like one, and I think it's fair to say he has a much better relationship with his current boss than he did here in St. Louis. Interesting that you bring that up because Greg Amsinger, and I think you were on the show, Brooke. Greg Amsinger told us that last year in spring training that Schultz was late for an interview, but a half hour late. And Greg sees Schultz and Preller walking the warning track in the outfield at their facility in Arizona. And he asked Schultz about it. Schultz said, "I do that every day. We talk for a half hour to an hour every single day." Awesome. And that's why he's got that communication. That's a great story. Yeah. And I think Mo's been tough to work with. I think last week we were talking about all the great things that Mo did his first 8 years. And it's a really tough thing for any type of job when you stay in the office for so long. And let's face it, he also works for Bill DeWitt. It's not like Mo is deciding on the payroll and some other things, but he's made some mistakes. But I think the job kind of has worn him out. And I actually say that with some empathy. Listen, I don't hesitate to criticize John Mozeliak, but his relationships with people haven't been as strong maybe as they were earlier, and I think he and Marmol do fine together. I think if Marmol's going to be here, however, beyond this season, and I'm making no predictions on that, I think, and I have good reasons to feel this way, I think Ollie Marmol and Chaim Bloom will have an exceptional relationship if that's the tandem going forward, because I think we can see Chaim Bloom's influence already, and he's not telling Ollie Marmol what to do. But as Ollie Marmol told us the other day on the Gas House Gang, I said, "Well, do you spend any time with Chaim Bloom? It's not like he's working. You're all working for the same team, and he's not the boss yet. But it's not like you guys are keeping him locked in some vault somewhere. He's allowed to actually talk to people within the Cardinals organization." And Ollie, I appreciated candor. He said, "Yeah, oh yeah, we talk, we've had dinners, we've done this, we've done that. They're getting to know each other. No one can convince me that," and I'm going to ask Ollie Marmol this next week. No one can convince me. It isn't that Chaim Bloom is stepping over the boundary to tell Ollie what he thinks would be best. But do we really think like an Ollie Marmol, who may be working for this guy next year, you really think he doesn't on occasion, shoot a text message, say, "Hey, I'm thinking about putting Newt Bar first. What do you think?" You don't think they have some sort of, non-public discussions between the two? I find that hard to believe. I believe they do. And the way that Ollie Marmol set up his lineup this year, if Chaim Bloom had anything to do with that, well, if that's true, it kind of tells you like I think there'll be a trust factor and better dialogue between him and whoever the next manager is. It could be Ollie too. Yeah, it could be Ollie too. Don't count him out.
Yeah, job security. I wouldn't blame Ollie whatsoever, because you have to think about that, because Mozeliak's going into a different role with the Cardinals organization. So you have to figure out something and make sure that you have that relationship going with the next Pobo. I wanted to ask you, because there's obviously another story surrounding the Cardinals right now. And we've discussed this a lot this week. We've heard feedback from people on the chat. And I know that you did a video about this as well, Bernie. People are not showing up to the games as much. We saw the low attendance numbers. I know you can blame weather. We can blame so many different factors. But when you were interacting with a lot of people on social media and in your YouTube video, what were you hearing? What was kind of the general consensus of why people are not coming to Busch Stadium this year?
Well, in no particular order, and I think we all know this. I mean, there is the chronic Mozeliak fatigue syndrome, and I'm not trying to pile on. It just happens to be true. He's been in place such a long time, and they associate him more than, well, as much as Bill DeWitt, kind of the downturn of the franchise, not taking care of the farm system, letting things fall apart a little bit. So that's number one. And then they question the team's overall commitment to winning. In my opinion, and Cardinals fans, I think the world of them, but I think some of the stuff is misguided. And as I've been saying, in terms of, because I hear, there's a lot of people, it's like spend. They got to spend. And I don't disagree with that. But my point is like, well, let's call time out here. Hold on. The mistakes they've made in payroll, the fact that the Milwaukee Brewers since 2017 have spent $450 million less than the Cardinals in payroll, and yet they kick the Cardinals' ass, right? Because their front office knows how to spend money. They know where to do it. So the Cardinals have had so many bad payroll decisions. And my thing is like, I'm not saying you're wrong about spending, because he's going to have to raise the payroll at some point if they want to like really contend. All due respect, I don't know why anybody would want Mo doing the spending when he's on his way out. I'd rather have Chaim Bloom do the spending, because he'll make good decisions. Look at all the stuff they were able to do in Tampa Bay and Cleveland. See, the Cardinals are stocking their front office with, a Tampa Bay guy and a Cleveland guy, Rob Cerfolio, and they're bringing other guys with them they work with. There's no teams in Major League Baseball that get more for the money than the Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland Guardians. Smart people. And that's what the Cardinals need. The spending part can come later. And I think we all agree that at some point they're going to have to take a big splash and get an elite free agent. I mean, I think we're all reasonable. No one expects them to trade punches financially with the Dodgers or the Mets, right? But at some point, you got to get over your inhibition and you got to take the plunge. And so we'll see they do. But let's not forget the Cardinals had a very, when Jeff Luhnow was here and Mo was doing his best work. I mean, the Cardinals were very efficient in terms of their payroll. They got a lot of bang for their buck. The both World Series champions they were ranked 11th in payroll. It wasn't a top 5 payroll team. So you got to get that efficiency back, and you got to get the homegrown talent, coming to St. Louis constantly. And that's what they're working on now, setting that back up to get it back to where it was.
And I think, and Bernie, we're going to wrap up here.
Sure.
You go back to 2006, 2011. The Cardinals didn't have top 11 or top 5 payroll. You're right. They were 11th. But how much did Dave Duncan get out of those pitchers more than what the Cardinals were paying them?
Great point.
Right?
A lot.
Top 5 production, right?
Yeah.
He saved that organization so much money.
He did, because even when they took a flyer on someone, he was able to fix guys. Oh my gosh, Darryl Kyle and how many others? Chris Carpenter when he got healthy. I mean, there's so many guys that he was able to fix. And then when they would take a flyer on someone like Jeff Weaver, the Cardinals don't win the World Series in 2006 without that late season trade for Jeff Weaver.
Right. Yeah.
And Dunk transformed him in like a week. Said, no, here you got to throw sinkers. You got to get the ball on the ground. Quit trying to strike out everybody. They're hitting your high stuff. Let's get the ball on the ground, and he fixed so many guys and knew exactly what to do to adjust them and make them better pitchers. And it's almost impossible to calculate how valuable he was in terms of having a great pitching staff at a relatively low cost.
Yeah, he was great. And so hopefully the Cardinals can coach to that level once again. Bernie, this is going to be a great weekend, isn't it? We've got the Final Four. We've got the Blues playing tomorrow night. We've got 3 with the Cardinals in Boston starting this afternoon. Battlehawks getting started. St. Louis City SC and Kansas City tomorrow. What a great sports weekend. It
is. Who do you get? Did you guys, I know I got to go, but did you guys make a pick? Who's going to win it? Final Four. Who's going to win the whole thing?
I didn't say Duke at the beginning, and so I'm not going to say it now. I'm still going to go with Auburn.
I think Duke, but listen, when you got 4 number 1 seeds, what the heck? There's no such thing as an upset, right?
Yeah. And you know what? I like John Shire. I kind of got Coach K fatigued towards the end there. I'm a big fan of John Shire.
And Duke, there was a great story, might have been the Wall Street Journal, about their dark money. Like no one knows who their NIL people are, right? But their NIL people are just, it's like whatever you need. It's just, they just keep funneling NIL. I mean, the Flag, the best player in the country, arguably this year. The Wall Street Journal estimated that he's getting paid like over $4 million this year. So Duke,
who invited him? Yeah, who might have invited him to the Olympic camp when the Olympic team's executive director was Grant Hill?
I wonder. Geez, no. And listen, I know it's easy to hate on Duke, but you know what? If they're smart enough to get the money people in line and basically give them an edge over these big time recruiting battles, hey man, more power to them. That's the system, right?
Bernie, one of my all-time favorite Mizzou stories is when they got banged by the NCAA for flying parents in. Remember this? They would fly parents in on charters for free. And when they did that, they were supposed to, the parents were supposed to pay the going commercial flight rate. Mm-hmm. And the players were flying on the charter for free so that they could come with their sons and visit Columbia. And the NCAA bangs Mizzou, and Quinn Snyder says, "We did that at Duke all the time." And Duke never got investigated.
The Blue Bloods survived.
I think in the old NCAA, I think there were different standards for different programs. I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, man.
Thank you, Bernie.
I love these visits each week. Thanks for having me on.
It's fun. It's great. Thank you, Bernie. Bernie with us on the Randy Karraker Show, featuring Brooke Grimsley and Matthew Rocchio. Hey, I want you to not only enjoy the weekend, but have it be a weekend where you change the way that you watch games. If you're ready to win real money and you're struggling to choose which team to pull off an upset, forget about the teams. All you need to do is focus on player stats to wrap up big cash, and you'll do it with DraftKings Pick 6. And when it comes to massive payouts, DraftKings dunks all over the competition. Pick 6 is available in most states, including Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and more. Track your picks for a shot to win huge cash prizes. It's as simple as that. Just download DraftKings Pick 6. And today I've got a pretty good one going. I think I'm going to win, by the way. I've got Jack Flaherty with plus 6.5 strikeouts. And then I'm going to go total bases. Let me see. I don't have it called up here. Matthew, remember what my hitter was? Aaron Judge. Yeah, plus 1.5 total bases. So Flaherty with the K's, Judge with the total bases. I love playing this. It's a lot of fun. It's quick. It's easy. And you can turn your college basketball knowledge tomorrow into cash. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly with just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5. You get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Randy's having way too much saying the crown is yours. And DraftKings, what else we have to say about that? Sports Hub SCL is brought to you by DraftKings, right?
And the crown is yours.
I
yes.
just want to hear you say the crown. I just want to hear you say the
Okay.
crown. is
And
yours.
just in case you couldn't follow on with Randy's picks,
there they are.
right there at the bottom. Aaron Judge, you're going to go more on 1.5 total bases, and Jack Flaherty, you're going to go more on 6.5 strikeouts, and you're getting 2.7x your original entry there on that pick 6 pick from Randy Karraker.
And Jack Flaherty is pitching against the White Sox, so that's kind of why I
That's a
do
good
that.
one.
Sports Hub
a good
STL
one.
is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Does Burger King still hand out those crowns? Because I feel like we need to get you one.
Totally. I need one. Yeah, I think they come with the kids' meal, right?
Do they really? I haven't had
Yeah.
Burger King in forever,
I
so I
haven't
have
either.
no idea. So now we're going to jump to our Grim Report, sticking
Grim
along the lines
Report.
of payroll. We were discussing payroll just a little bit, and Randy, you had
Mhm.
this great kind of statistic and numbers on what we're seeing with the drop in payroll. We obviously know that the Cardinals are in the camp in that drop of payroll, but they're not alone.
No, as a matter of fact, the Mets have the highest payroll. And because of all the deferred money, the Dodgers are second. But the Cardinals are one of the teams that have dropped payroll this year. But it's amazing when you look at the list of teams that have also dropped payroll, including the New York Yankees. The Chicago White Sox dropped a huge amount of payroll this year. The Brewers have dropped payroll. The Cubs, even though they've made their moves. There are a lot of teams that have decided, you know what, I think a lot of it is fear of the Dodgers. And they're saying, if the Dodgers are going to be spending all of this, why should we bother spending more? Because we're still going to lose to the Dodgers regardless of what we do.
I feel like this has also caused a lot of consternation between owners and teams and fans. When we were discussing with Bernie, and we've discussed this too all week about why people aren't showing up, I think the conversation about payroll is something that has alienated a lot of fans. And The Athletic put out an article this morning that's really interesting. And the title is, "The Cubs are one of Major League Baseball's top revenue machines. So why aren't they paying their players more?" And it's an interesting conversation because we know that the Cubs generate a lot of money. The Cardinals do too, but Chicago is a bigger market size team, and they have been able to produce a lot of revenue. And in this article, they kind of touched on this, where the Cubs are the third highest revenue in Major League Baseball teams last year, according to sources briefed on the club's finances. Now, we don't know the full aspect of teams' finances because they won't open up the books fully for us. So we don't know the net revenue, but it's safe to say that the Cubs are making a lot of money. They made that move to bring in Craig Counsell, and I thought that maybe they would do a little bit more player-wise, but it's not exactly matching with what you're seeing product-wise on the field. So why do you think that we're seeing that with the Cubs? I know that the Cardinals, you can put them in the conversation too, because the similarities that I see between the Cubs and Cardinals, obviously regional teams, long history between the two. The Cardinals have a way better history than the Cubs. I mean, clearly, when you talk about World Series, but what do you think it is, kind of the difference that we're seeing where the Cubs aren't spending that money exactly on their team, like what they're putting out there on the field, because they have a lot of revenue that they're bringing in. And I know they have in this article where they kind of break it down, but they're not spending it on players.
Their payroll is ninth at $196.3 million. I was really surprised when they decided to move on from Cody Bellinger. And I get that you have two left-handed hitting outfielders if you have both Bellinger and Kyle Tucker. But how much better would their lineup have been if they would have kept Bellinger around?
Would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if their ownership is competitive and really wants to win, then they should spend a higher percentage of their revenue on payroll. And by the way, one of the other things we don't know, and it goes back to kind of what we didn't know last year, that the Cardinals were virtually not spending anything on their minor league system because their money, the money allocated to baseball ops was being allocated to the major league payroll.
Yeah, I think that another similarity too that I've seen people point out about the Cardinals is, well, the Cardinals and the DeWitts have Ballpark Village. They should be putting that money into the payroll with what we're seeing on the team. The Cubs are kind of doing the same thing. They have Wrigleyville. The Ricketts family has that, but they're not really translating that over to the product on the field. Do you have an issue with that, with what we're seeing? It should be separate businesses, but I think a lot of fans assume that, okay, if that's money that you're associating because we're coming to the games, we're putting money into Ballpark Village for you, and that is your business, you want to see some of that go into the payroll for the team.
So I guess the question would be, at what point do you quit conflating all of the businesses that an owner has? Like Bill DeWitt owns American Playing Card Company, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, playing card companies in the world. They manufacture playing cards. So should we be upset?
Does Bill DeWitt own Bicycle?
No, it's not Bicycle. I think it's American Playing Card.
Oh,
Company.
okay. That would have blown my mind.
Yeah, but he
And they're
also
involved
owns
in Arby's.
Arby's. He's got a bunch of Arby's. So do we get upset that Bill DeWitt is not
Putting
spending
Arby's
the
money?
Arby's money into the Cardinals? Here's the thing that I look at. I think we have, as fans, a better chance of the Cardinals succeeding because of Ballpark Village. If you ever go to Ballpark Village when there's not a game going on, there's not a whole lot of people there.
No.
The way the Cardinals are going to succeed with Ballpark Village and have that be a success for them, and by the way, they're separate entities. Cordish Company owns half of Ballpark Village. Cordish Company doesn't own any part of the Cardinals. But if Ballpark Village is to succeed, they need the Cardinals to do well. They need to have people in the stands at Cardinal games and go to Ballpark Village before and after.
I just think that that's where we're starting to see some of the disparity between. I know that we've discussed with the Cardinals that a lot of fans aren't showing up. You're seeing those low attendance numbers. And if they keep winning, then of course more fans are going to start showing up, to your point. But I feel like the payroll conversation, and the Cardinals are alone in this, has really just alienated a lot of the fans.
There's no doubt. The Cardinals are 19th in payroll at $141 million this year. And there are a lot of people that think that the Cardinal payroll should be higher. Now, my question would be, is if the Cardinals would have gone out, because they weren't signing Soto, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just pick out a player that the Cardinals could have signed to a $300 million contract this offseason. If they would have signed Roki Sasaki, if they would have brought him in for $150 million, does Roki Sasaki make the Cardinals a contender with the Dodgers or the Phillies?
No.
I don't think he does.
No.
If the Cardinals would have done a position player this year, if they would have done Alex Bregman for 2 years and $80 million, does Alex Bregman's bat make the Cardinals a contender with the Dodgers? I don't think he does.
No.
I don't think it made sense this particular offseason for the Cardinals to go out and spend that money. And I'm not convinced that they're ever going to be a team that spends $300 million. But I don't mind their approach. And I've said it before on this show. I like their approach this year better than the approach last year when they signed Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn.
I do too. Yeah. And I also am happy that they're putting that money back into development. When we were talking about Ivan Herrera with Bernie a little bit earlier, and you can go back and watch that interview. But when we were discussing that conversation you had with Ollie, you mentioned this a couple of times. It wasn't that long ago. It was just a few years ago. And I know that people pointed out in the chat too, that it seemed like they were more worried about Ivan Herrera's bat rather than his defense. And now we're here where his bat is just fine. Clearly, it needs to play. It needs to be in the lineup. But defensively, he's just not there yet. And you're trying to figure out what his future will be moving forward for the organization.
And the fact that they haven't known that for a long time,
that's
tells
scary.
you a lot about where their system and their evaluation was, right?
Yeah, it tells you a lot. And you hope that that's not the same for some of these younger catchers who are coming up too. But it kind of makes you question the evaluation process a little bit more, because Herrera gets there and we see that clear struggle defensively.
Now, and if you want to blame John Mozeliak for that, that's something that you can absolutely blame Mo for. And he had to make that decision. Okay, do I spend money on the major league team or do I spend money on my system? But when you're spending the money on the likes of Andrew Miller and Brett Cecil, and you don't know what Herrera is, you don't know what your $87.5 million investment in Contreras is. Remember, Contreras is your first baseman now. You gave him $87.5 million to catch for you for 5 years. So they didn't evaluate that one very well.
Yeah.
I think that is a very fair criticism of John Mozeliak.
I think it really is, because Wilson Contreras, it was no secret whatsoever. Yeah. And Wilson, love him as a player and also as a person. He's a great guy. Mm-hmm. But how did they not know that going into that deal with Wilson Contreras? He was in your division. You knew that the struggles that he had with the Cubs behind the plate. It wasn't a secret whatsoever.
So, and this is not Wilson's fault at all.
No.
It's the Cardinals' fault.
Hey, I would take that money too.
Absolutely, you would. So there are absolutely criticisms of John Mozeliak, and I think part of it was they got passed up, and then it took until now to bring in Bloom, Cerfolio, Pierpont, the minor league guys, Larry Day as the minor league director. It just took too long for the Cardinals to figure out that they were being passed up. And the payroll, if they do things the right way, the payroll is going to go up exponentially. It makes no sense right now, today, to pay some of these players. But if you wanted to take that payroll up $30 million right now by paying Mason Wynn, by paying Lars Nootbaar, by paying a guy like Quinn Matthews or Victor Scott or whomever you want to pay, if you want to take that payroll up by $30 million to get those guys under contract right now, I'm on board.
Yes, because you're investing in those homegrown players.
Three of them for $30 million.
And we're seeing that trend happen in the league right now. We're discussing. I think those are the guys that you look at. But Randy, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head about this discussion, because that's something they mentioned in this article with the Cubs and the Athletic about why their revenue they're bringing in isn't translating to the money that they're spending on the field. It's because of how competitive the National League is. I mean, you're not going to swim in the Dodgers' water. So it's almost like it's given owners an excuse to kind of step back with their payroll, because you're just not going to compete with the Dodgers, which will make this upcoming CBA so interesting.
I think that's another part of it. I wonder if the Cardinals know something, maybe the Cubs do, that other teams don't know about the way the CBA is going to work. But I have to believe the Dodgers are going to be grandfathered in. There's no way that you're going to say the Dodgers have to get rid of all of these players. So they'll be grandfathered in, I would think.
It makes you wonder if this is good for baseball. I don't blame the Dodgers whatsoever with what they're doing. If I had that kind of money and I wanted to spend it like that, you would do exactly what the Dodgers are doing. But is it good for baseball that you have this mega super team in the Dodgers where they have all this deferred money? When you talked about Shohei Ohtani, that's why they're not considered at the top of the payroll, because of all that deferred money with Shohei Ohtani. Is it good for baseball to have a super mega team like the Dodgers?
I think it's only good for baseball if the Dodgers don't win sometimes. If they get beat by like they got beat by the Diamondbacks a couple of years ago. If even Philadelphia, they've got a ton of money, right? And they're pitching lights out right now. But if Philadelphia beats them, it doesn't matter who beats them. As long as the Dodgers don't win the World Series every year, I think it'll be good for baseball.
You think Major League Baseball even wants that? Because when you had the Diamondbacks and Rangers, right, it was like one of the lowest watched World Series that they've had in recent years, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
I don't even know if Major League Baseball wants that, or if they want that kind of disparity.
Doyers and Yankees, that's good for them, but not long term, I don't think. By the way, Eric Cleveland, Randy Newt is going to want it close to the Jackson Merrill contract. Will Cardinals go there? Merrill got 9 years and 135, right?
Yes,
he's 21. Newt is 28. So I don't know if the Cardinals do go there. I could see the Cardinals going 7 with Lars Nootbaar and giving him a pretty substantial deal. Hey, a long time ago, 2010? So we're talking 15 years ago that the Cardinals gave Matt Holliday 7 and 120. So if you go back to 2010, and Holliday was already established. He'd finished second in an MVP. He'd hit 340 and led a league in hitting. But what do you do with? Do you go like 7 and 200 for a guy like Nootbaar because of what he's shown you so far?
My only issue with Lars Nootbaar, we know I'm a huge fan of Lars Nootbaar, so I hate saying this, is that I would need to see a full season.
Yeah, that's the thing. He needs to play 130 games, right?
Don't you? Don't you need to see a full season before you give him an extension?
Yeah,
just to make sure that he's fully healthy.
I would want to see that. And they, as John Denton has mentioned, as he ran down the litany of Lars Nootbaar injuries, they have been kind of freakish. It's not like
it has been, not like a pulled hammy or something like that, or a back.
Oh, how long would you have had that?
I'm not answering.
About a week back.
Yeah,
I know I set you up for that, but we always see these back.
Well, that was and one of the things from last year, and one of the statistics for Lars Nootbaar last year, more than any other player, he had ball 1.
No, you did not just say that, Randy. I cannot. No, you did not just say that. But that was why. That was another reason why, Randy, to your joke you just made, I'm going to continue this when I shouldn't, is why I kind of had to reconsider the name of the fan club.
The Nutty Neuters of Newt Nation.
It just opened up. It opened up the jokes
Pandora's
way too
box.
much.
Totally.
We had to go with Newt Nation. I felt like we had to kind of drop the Nutty Neuters of Newt Nation because
it hurt. It hurt me. I squeezed my legs together when it happened.
Oh man, it was like Yadier Molina. Like, remember when that happened?
Ooh. That
Yikes.
was not good. Hey, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and like this video. And if you haven't already, go to sportshubstl.com and sign up for the Hub newsletter sent to your inbox twice a week. And anytime St. Louis sports news breaks, you'll be the first to know about Sports Hub STL events and merchandise, get exclusive content and prize opportunities, and more. While you're on the site, check out all the St. Louis sports content, including game recaps, programming highlights, sports news and opinion, gambling tips, and more. It's all on the website at sportshubstl.com. I think is Eric Sontag, he's out of town. So I know we don't have him on our show. Is he doing Sophisticated Gamblers today?
Domesticated Gamblers did their episode this week on Monday.
Okay. So they've
We
already
have a
been
full
on.
weekend of things
So you-
going
you
on.
can-
We have the
you
Final
can
Four
see it
going
on-
And so instead of Eric, I do have a little bit of a betting thing because I don't know if you guys heard there was some controversial comments coming out of Cincinnati from the Bengals saying, where will we play in 22-25?
Uh-huh.
We'll just have to see. Well, sportsbetting.ag just posted their odds for the Bengals relocation
Oh, I like this.
at 9 a.m. on April 11th. And you guys will not guess who's on top. Is it Salt Lake City?
St. Louis.
Is it somewhere in Texas?
St. Louis.
Maybe even Canada. Maybe somebody on the show won't completely destroy my lead here, Brooke. Jesus, let it happen.
No.
Here's the list at the very top.
already saw
Plus
that.
300
If they
St.
move-
Louis.
If they move.
If they move,
Okay.
where will they
No
relocate
way.
after the 2025 season?
I need it to happen.
Sportsbetting.ag has St. Louis as the favorite at plus 300. Austin and San Antonio, somewhere in Texas, plus 350. Salt Lake City, plus 400. Oklahoma City, plus 500. And then we get into the other countries, Toronto and Mexico City, respectively, at plus 700 and plus 800.
Okay, so Kara Spencer just completely does a 180, gets hired as the mayor of St. Louis and decides to help build a stadium, okay?
Okay.
Or maybe our guy Sam Page, maybe we build one in the county, okay? So we get a new stadium. We get the Bengals. We argue here in St. Louis that we've had two of the worst owners in the history of the sport, and Mr. Bidwell and Stan Kroenke, and one of the best in Georgia Frontier. If the Bengals, under their current ownership, would move the franchise to St. Louis, would that not give us three of the worst owners in the history of the National Football League with the Mike Brown,
Yeah.
Katie Blackburn ownership?
Yeah. Yeah. But wouldn't you love to have an NFL team back
I would
here?
be very intrigued. I would not buy
Joe
season
Burrow
tickets.
here?
Yeah.
You would
Oh,
buy season tickets,
No, I
wouldn't you?
wouldn't. No, I wouldn't.
Really?
No, I go to games, but I would not buy season tickets again.
No.
I
Not making
wouldn't.
that investment.
No, I'm not. But for people your age and young people that want a team, I think it'd be fun. I would hate to do that to Bengals fans, though. Our buddy Scott Wiener over at Hubbard Radio is a huge Bengals fan. I wonder if he'd like it or hate it. But I think it'd be interesting to. And would the NFL, like those owners who had to all chip in for the $790 million, would those owners want to vote on a move to St. Louis?
That's the thing that I think holds St. Louis back is that when you win a lawsuit against the NFL, they don't like to lose anything whatsoever. I feel like that would hold you back from having another team.
I would think so. But yeah, and I don't know. I would think there would have to be somebody with cash. It'd be kind of like the Kroenke when Georgia sold 40% of the Rams to Stan Kroenke when the team moved here. First of all, I don't think this is happening. But I think one of the things that would have to happen, I think that Cincinnati will do everything they can, and I think they will keep the Bengals there. And I think the Bengals ownership has trouble pulling the trigger on something like that, which you do all the time in St. Louis anyway. But anyway.
Randy. Randy.
But anyway, I think that you would need a Dave Stewart, right?
Yeah.
Somebody with a lot of money. I don't think the Taylor family will get involved. And I think that you would have to have a primarily, maybe not 100%, but a primarily privately financed stadium and practice facility. And practice facilities are like
They're not
$500 million now.
Yeah. I don't think that would happen whatsoever. I can see a lot of fans a lot of people who haven't even bought
Joe Roderick.
the St. Louis
Joe
River
Roderick
Bowl.
has, just to my chagrin, is using AI to come up with how the new logos for
River
this new
Bengals. Here we
squad.
go.
I don't like the second one.
What was the first?
I don't like it.
Is this the second one?
Yeah, this is the second one. The first one looks cooler. You see it?
The River Bengals. Is there such thing as a River Bengal?
No.
Now, one thing when the Rams left, one of the things that Dave Peacock said, if we ever get another team,
Yeah.
they would have to be rebranded so that the city that had them wouldn't want them back
Yeah.
like that way. So you have to give them a different name and then retire or let
Now
Cincinnati
we can do
keep the
mythical
Bengals name.
creatures.
I think, but this is way before we got the rights to build the F-47. But one of the names that had been proposed, if the Chargers were to have come here because the F-18 was built here, was the Hornets, the St. Louis Hornets with the the jet. I don't know if that would still be part of the process, but I know that was a name that was tossed around because with the Rams still having the attachment to LA and Jerry Jones saying, yeah, we need the Los Angeles Rams. I think they wanted to change, if they got the Chargers, wanted to change the Chargers name.
I say go mythical, like a Blue Raider.
Blue Gator.
Blue Raiders.
But Blue Gator is more mythical than a Blue Raider.
It is because you would never see that.
Go
But the Raiders completely
More
creature.
mythical. The next logo for the St. Louis NFL team, or a St. Louis NFL team, but for 2075.
Oh, I think 2075. No. Logo.
Will, you're not even giving us the next 50 years.
No.
We're not getting an NFL team in 50 years when the league is operating on a 24-week schedule and 46 teams. Still, St. Louis will not be involved.
These owners, I'm telling you, one thing about these owners that I know for an absolute fact is that they're very happy, not super happy, but very happy, sharing their enormous revenue with 31 other owners. They don't want to share it with 33 other owners or 35 other owners or 39 other owners or 45 other owners. They're very happy because they've got the entire country covered. They can't make any more TV money than they're making right now. And they don't want to share with anybody else because that takes money out of their pockets.
Yeah, they do not like that whatsoever.
No.
And to your point too, they would probably want to make sure that taxpayers are paying for the majority of the
No
stadium.
doubt about
Because
it.
look at all the other places where they're building stadiums. And that's kind of why this threat is happening with the Bengals, is because you do have people kind of pushing back on that, even in Nashville with that $2 billion stadium, which has turned into more than $2 billion that they're going to have to spend. That's a lot of money out of taxpayers. It does. And you think it's going to be something, and then they just keep adding more and more to it. I just think that the Bengals aren't going anywhere. I can't see them leaving Cincinnati. It's just really pathetic that we keep seeing this happen with NFL owners where they make these veiled threats to get their way. It's like a toddler throwing a tantrum, basically.
Right. And please tell every Bengal fan that there's zero chance of the Bengals moving to St. Louis. It's just not going to happen for myriad reasons. Number one, I'll give you the biggest reason, because at the end of the day, you got a business, right? I think it's thundering outside.
Jeez.
You're running a business, okay? And one of the things that you need if you're going to have a business is partners, clients, people that will spend money on your product. Well, if you are an NFL franchise, you want to come in here and you want to get people to support your team, other businesses to support your team. Well, if you are the owners of the Blues that include Worldwide Technology and Enterprise, or if you are a group that got screwed over by the NFL, like Enterprise or like Edward Jones, right now you'd be cannibalizing your own products, right? The Enterprise, the Taylor family owns the soccer team. They don't want to bring an NFL team in and have them competing for advertising dollars. Same thing with the Blues, who are owned by Enterprise Worldwide, the Danforths, several other rich people in town. They don't want to cannibalize their product either. And it's not like we are a huge Fortune 500 corporate base anymore. So I really don't see the money people in St. Louis wanting to be on board with something like this.
No, I can't either.
We
Would
have,
love it though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'd be fun. We have Cards Hub 365 coming up after the Cardinals in Boston this afternoon. You want to be a part of that. Look at all the stuff we got coming up this weekend. So post game at 4, Cards Hub post game tomorrow night at 6, tomorrow night at 9:30 after City plays in Kansas. They really like that. After the Blues tomorrow night against Colorado, the post game is at 8:30, and then Sunday, Battlehawks at 7, Blues at 8:30, Cards at 9 after the Cards and Red Sox on Sunday Night Baseball. That is pretty darn awesome that we've got all of that cool stuff. I think there's one other thing that I need to have you know about. No, maybe not. Maybe there's not.
Just have a good weekend.
Maybe all I need to tell you is that Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Oh, Battlehawks. Get that Battlehawks box this weekend. $8.99 for chicken breast strips and potato wedges. Save up to 30% on Battlehawks tickets. Caw-caw.
Caw-caw.
There we go. Brooke, you have a wonderful weekend. You got any plans?
Baby shower.
Oh, good.
And we are really leaning into the shower aspect of it
Good.
because it'll be rainy tomorrow. So
Oh, yeah, good. Very nice.
yeah,
Very well
33
done.
weeks today.
All right. So
Get
7 to
big.
go.
Yeah, I just got a notification that basically the baby's brain is finishing forming this
Oh,
weekend.
good.
Hopefully it's forming,
I
but
was-
finishing forming.
Yeah, I was told that mine never did finish. Yes.
One final thing. Shouts to Matthew Edwards and Brian Ellison, who both joined and became YouTube
Thank
members
you.
during the show
Well,
today.
thank you so much. We do appreciate that. We love having you as part of the group. We love talking to you. It's
We
pretty
love
darn
you.
We do love you. All right. I've got tonight, I'm doing a little thing with my friends from the Down Syndrome Association of Greater St. Louis. That'll be fun. Tomorrow night, I'm doing the trivia night for our friends, the Shriners, the Moolah Shriners. That's going to be
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
They
And
still
then-
wear the hats?
Yeah, they do.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that's
don't know if
so
I get to
cool.
wear one while I'm doing the trivia or not.
Please do.
Let's see if I do.
Please.
I'll get a picture of it. For
Yeah.
You. Anyway, just don't. We're done. Our show is. We went an extra half hour yesterday, so we're leaving a little early today. And we tell you, we want to be honest with you. We don't just want you to have a great weekend. We want you to have an American weekend.